When dictators feel the ground shaking under their feet, they start wars. That's what they do. President Maduro in Venezuela never had much support from the beginning. But now, after the protests in 2014, with a lot of people killed, with repression, assassinations, and these threats of doing a massacre,
prepárense para un tiempo de masacre y de muerte si fracasara.
He has even less. In the poll made by Operación Libertad Venezuela, 1% said they would vote for the regime. So what does a dictator do? Well, he uses election fraud, obviously, to hold on to power. The Venezuelan regime has used election fraud since 2004. It's been proven scientifically in peer-reviewed international journals. And of course they're denying it, and the opposition are playing along with the regime. They say it's not convenient to talk about election fraud, because if we talk about election fraud, people won't go out and vote, and how are we going to win if they don't vote? Well, the truth is that if people don't know about the election fraud, they can't beat it. The only way to beat the election fraud is to know about it, and that's what Operación Libertad Venezuela, Operation Freedom Venezuela, has been doing. Pushing for the slogan, exigimos elecciones auténticas. We demand genuine elections. That has put the regime against the wall, because they can't very well go out and argue against genuine elections. And so what have they done? They've tried to take away the credibility from this organization, attacking including me. When that failed, they did something else. Maduro closed the border here in Táchira, the border to Colombia, and created a humanitarian disaster. Well, as if there wasn't one already, the country is severely lacking in food. There is virtually no food production going on in Venezuela, and they depend on imported food, and with the oil prices falling and no domestic production, they haven't had the money with which to buy enough food. And some of the food has been smuggled over the border with the cooperation of the military, the National Guard. So about 45% or 55%, something like that, of the population in Venezuela, in the polls from Operación Libertad Venezuela, say that they cannot find food to buy. None. The situation is really, really serious in the country. But what's the dictator Maduro doing? Is he bringing in food? He went to Vietnam. Right now he's in China when I'm recording this. Did he go there to get food? No. He went there to get more military equipment, military trucks, and infantry fighting vehicles, amphibious, top modern, Chinese. Actually, they were ordered by Chavez in 2012. But back then, people didn't know exactly what he ordered. Chavez enhanced the defenses. He bought a lot of Soviet-made tanks, trucks too, airplanes, Sukhoi airplanes, a lot of things that didn't really make sense. But now with this latest acquisition, which came in the day before yesterday to the harbor in La Guaira here, the ZBD 2000 series amphibious infantry fighting vehicles with a 30mm automatic cannon and 2 missiles, anti-tank missiles on the tower, capable of 65 kilometers per hour over land and somewhere between 25 and 45 kilometers per hour over water. And already Venezuela has 4 landing ships, so they can fold down the bow on the beach, but they can also, with these vehicles, fold it down in the open sea, put the tanks in the water far from the shoreline, approach the shore on GPS at night, and arrive on the beach in the morning to complete surprise and take a country. Now, why would they want to do that? Well, they only have 3 borders, 3 neighbor countries with borders. To Colombia, which is a lot of mountain and some swamp here and lowlands here. To Brazil, mostly uninhabited here. And then they have the border to Guyana. And here we get to the interesting part, because this part, western part of Guyana, Guyana Essequibo, is claimed by Venezuela since centuries. When Chavez took office, one of the things he did was to add an 8th star in the flag of Venezuela. This 8th star represents Guyana Essequibo. They also added this Guyana Essequibo to all the maps of Venezuela. This is a Venezuelan map, and as you see, it says Zona en Reclamación, reclamation area. So if you compare a Venezuelan map of Venezuela with a map made by somebody else like Google Earth, this part here is different. Dictators tend to start war because it unites the population. We know that when Argentina invaded Las Malvinas, as it's called in Spanish, the Falkland Islands, they got a huge part of the country behind them, even though a large part of that population really was against the dictatorship. So we can see what's going to happen here. If Maduro starts a war, what's likely going to happen is that the majority will support it, and elections become irrelevant, because the purpose of the election is to gain legitimacy. With this support for the war, he will have a kind of legitimacy automatically without the elections, and be able to hold on to power for another number of years. Now, this is under the condition, of course, that he wins, that he is able to take Guyana Essequibo, or maybe the whole of Guyana, and hold on to it. So what are the probabilities that he will be able to do that? Well, first of all, Guyana basically doesn't have a defense. They have a defense force, but it's so poorly equipped and so small that it's essentially meaningless. They have a few RPGs that they can use to shoot in the side of these Chinese vehicles. The side is actually where they are most vulnerable. But other than that, they don't have a single fighter jet. Venezuela will have complete air superiority. And the whole occupation of the country is likely going to take place in a matter of hours, not days, but hours. Once that has happened, what will happen next? Well, the world will wake up to the fact, the fait accompli. What countries do they have that will back them up? It used to be part of the British Empire. It's part of the Commonwealth still. So we could say maybe the Brits will go in. The Dutch are up here, and the French are in French Guiana. They're the ones that are closest, and the US. But how likely is it that any of these will intervene? If they do, take it up, for instance, in the UN Security Council, Russia and China are there, and I bet that they will oppose it, because both of them are heavily invested with Maduro in Venezuela. So chances are, as I see it, that if they start talking about going in and liberate Guyana, probably China and Russia will warn them in private not to do it. So the gamble, as I see it, is that they take this just as Russia has taken part of Georgia, part of Ukraine, and China has taken part of the Spratly Islands, and nobody has done anything about it. And now time has come to take another little piece, with the hope that nobody will do anything about this either. And they will raise the stakes as in poker. And if they do something about it, who knows, Third World War might break out. So what to do about this? Well, the thing to do is not to let them take it in the first place. If Guyana has got a little bit of defense, so that they're able to stop and cause some significant losses on the Venezuelan side, maybe sink one of the ships, or cause some losses of some of these infantry fighting vehicles with RPGs, the Venezuelan people will start feel the losses and stop supporting Maduro. And once they stop supporting Maduro, chances are this dictatorship will fall quickly. So the best option right now is to help Guyana with RPGs and maybe a few surface-to-air missiles so that they can hold back the invasion and cause some losses to any invader that tries to take over whole or part of the country.